Okay, so if you're in the Zoom, we are being recorded. Uh, and of course, we are live on IG. Bet. Okay. Well, let's see. We are just about ready to get started. It's almost 6:30. We got one more minute, just gonna let people trickle in. But okay. Um for those of you who are on Instagram, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it. Uh, so for those of you who are joining us on IG, I'm screen sharing on Zoom, but I can't get that to you on IG. But if you watch the video later on YouTube, you'll be able to see my screen share. So welcome, y'all. Thank you for joining us for this Q&A. I just wanted to take some time to answer. Sorry, my cat wants to be on the live. Uh, answer your questions about the formerly incarcerated artist residency. And I wanted to start by going through the questions we ask on the application. Maybe you haven't started your application yet, and you're like, what does it entail? What is it? Is it scary? What's going to be in there? And what are they asking of me? So we'll walk through those questions. I'll expand on each a little bit, and then um, I'll answer anybody's questions who's dropped them in the chat. So we'll uh, when you start your application, they'll ask for some basic biographical information. So they'll want to know your name, email address, maybe a phone number, um, and I think address. I think all of that is recorded when you sign up. And then once you get into the application itself, um, we'll ask your pronouns. So just whatever pronouns you use, he, him, she, her, they, them, she, them, however you choose to pronoun yourself. I don't know why I said it that way, but yes, that's our first question. So we know we are not misgendering people as we're going through applications. Um, Second question, artist bio. So this is something that came up for the FAQs, which can be a very stressful part of an application. And I think when we were designing it, we as artists know that this part is stressful, but it's the bio. It's just, we want to know who you are, where you come from, and it doesn't have to be super formal. It doesn't have to be in sort of like job getting language, like we want to hear your voice and who you are in your story. So that's what the bio is. Like, why do you make art? What are your interests in making art? Like, what subject matter do you focus on, or what eh, tendencies are you exploring? Sorry, I'm just realizing that I did not actually start screen sharing on Zoom. Okay, now my screen share is up so you can see the questions alongside me reading them out loud. So this is the second question, artist bio. Um, if it's important to you, it's important enough to be in the bio. I think that's a key thing. Now, the third question is kind of an expansion of this. It's who are you and what kind of art do you make? Are you a musician? Are you a sculptor? Uh do you have like a urban gardening practice? What is your creative style? What inspires you? Yeah, just give us an idea of what kind of art you make and what you're interested in making. So that's question 3. Now, number 4 is what communities or places shape your work? And this was a question that came up, and um it's related to one of the things we look for when we're scoring applications, which is, who is this going to reach? Who is your community? Who are you looking to be in conversation with? Um, who are you hoping to inspire? Like, who are you trying to make connections with? And where do you come from? So, uh, that can look so many different ways, like, um, but really we want to just capture where you're located now, who your people are, and yeah, and how that impacts your creative process. Okay, question number 5. In what ways have encounters with policing or incarceration shaped how you see the world? How does that perspective come through in your creative work? I think this is a question that is asked in both versions of our application, but I think has a heavier context. Um, I don't want people to feel like they need to tap into trauma or re-traumatize themselves just in order to apply for this. I think the overarching thing we're trying to get at with this question is, how did you come, like, you're applying for a residency that asks what a world without policing and incarceration would look like. How did you come to these ideas? Um how did you get to the place where this is something that interests you? Um and like I said, it doesn't need to be, you don't need to like feel like you got to spill your guts to answer that question, but I do think people will have a lot to say because it's a huge obstacle that impacts so many of our lives, right? So that's a big jump, I think, from tell us about yourself to this higher level kind of like what your worldview is, right? So hi, folks. If you're just now joining us, please feel free. If you've got questions, drop them in the chat and I will get to them as soon as I can. I'm currently going through our applications questions, and then I will take any questions folks have. All right. Question number 6. What project or idea would you like to create during this residency? So maybe you're somebody who's a writer and you've written fiction and you want to work on a film. You've got a film idea. Cool. We're not interested in policing how you're gonna express yourself. We want to just know a little bit more about what the project is. Like, what is it specifically that you're looking to do? Or what's the idea behind what you're looking to do? So I'm thinking about previous artists in residence we've had. Our first artist, Lauren Williams, put together an installation with several different art objects in it, representing like a closer and closer future to where police and incarceration no longer existed. And like there was book that the cover was like the rise and fall of policing in America, right? Like a book that doesn't exist but is just something imagined. That wasn't necessarily in the proposal, right? Like that kind of detail. Or one of the things that I remember her saying was like, if we're going to have this another world be possible, I want there to be hot chips. And so she mocked up a small bag of chips called Fritos, but Free instead of Frit, right? That stuff wasn't in the proposal. That came out of the process of going through a year of being in residency and thinking these things through, right? So the concept was the installation, and it had a framework to it, which was uh how do we get closer and closer to abolition? What does that space look like? How does that home space change um, without policing and incarceration? So think of it that way. It doesn't have to be like every single detail. It can just be a broad idea. I want to do a mural. I want to build a garden. I want to make a film. And give us detail. What do you want to do with it? Like, what are you interested in making it for? Like, what is the catch for you? So that's the project. Question number 7 is, why is this project important to you and what do you hope people take away from it? I think that's pretty straightforward. Um, and we know we can't control our audiences. So you if you're thinking about it and you're like, I don't know what people will take away from it, that's fine. That's an okay answer. But we want to know, what are your dreams? Like, what is your best possible outcome? Like, you present your project and you end up winning the Nobel Peace Prize, and Trump's gonna be mad, but that's okay. Like something like that. So it could be that big and lofty. It could be, I want to inspire one person, or I want this one person who's important to me to see it, right? Like that could be your reason why. We just want to know why. It's not however big or small. Folks, if you are joining us now, we are going through all the questions that are on the application to our artist residency. It will be recorded and it will live on our YouTube and Facebook, so you can access this after this live if you're coming in a little late. And we are currently on question number 8. How does your project connect to the idea of imagining a world without policing or incarceration? We're just trying to see, like, okay, you've got this idea for a project. Does it connect to the question, or is it just something that you were thinking about? Like, I you might want to do a reimagination of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Cool. You're gonna have to connect that to the question somehow. It does still kind of have to be on theme. So, I mean, you can. Let me see. No, I'm trying to make an argument for the bears being the police, but I don't think they are. I think they're actually probably the victims in that story, and Goldilocks is the problem, but that's neither here nor there. So, in any event, you need to make it connect to the question of the world without policing and incarceration. Uh, this is question number 9. What materials, tools, or space do you need to make your project happen? This can be anything. Literally, you can list anything you think you might need in order to make it happen. We just need to know, is it going to be feasible, right? Like, within a budget of $20,000, will it be feasible? Within the time constraints of a year, will it be feasible? Within the resources at our disposal, will it be feasible? And this is not to say, like, if you've got big dreams of uh making a production, and you need uh I don't know, like a gallery space. Cool. Uh it, you need to hire 15 dancers, right? Like, these kinds of questions are bound to come up, and we want to make sure that it's going to be feasible for you within the project. And we're going to do our best to meet any needs, right? But there may be some applications where we look at, and it won't be disqualifying, but it may be something that we flag and say, this application is good, but we might have to scale it back from 15 dancers to 5 dancers. Like, that might be a negotiation. It just is the logistic end of it. And that won't necessarily happen in the room of the panel. It would be a question for afterwards. Like, if you got selected, then we would figure out, okay, how do we make this happen? How do we negotiate it? So don't get too caught up in like thinking you're asking for too much, or if you need extra tools. Don't worry about that aspect. It's just for us to get a sense of how we'll be able to help you, and to start looking for other resources if there are needs that you have that we can't meet currently. Okay, question number 10. How do you prefer to communicate during the residency? We want to do what works best for you. This is the first time we've opened the application to make it statewide. So the residency has been open to Detroit residents, which means um, they're in close enough proximity where we can meet in person if need be. We can get resources to you like more easily. Um, it's a little bit trickier when it's statewide, but we'll just figure out best ways of communicating. And I know, like, some folks prefer phone calls to video, like Zoom calls. Totally down with that. Folks, if you're just joining us and you got questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat. I'm walking through the application questions, and we're just about at the end of that. So, question number 11. What kind of support would help you participate fully? This is a little bit different than the tools question. This is, like, I know I'm somebody who's not especially tech savvy, and I'm gonna need like a little extra support to um get the word out about my work. We got you. Like, it's things like that. Like, or it could be something as simple as, I'm an artist and I make this work, and I actually don't want to talk about my past. And like, I need that to feel like I can participate fully. Easy. Like, think about that. Like, don't think just in terms of when you're answering what would help support you participate fully, right? Don't think of it necessarily as material concerns, but material, social, emotional, psychological. Like, what is gonna help you be your best self if you are granted this award? Okay. Question number 12. How do you imagine sharing your finished work with others? Do you want to do a gallery showcase? Would you like to do a virtual screening? Um, do you want to host a dinner, like Salem Celeste, who was one of our artists in residence, did a series of events, and it could be something like that, right? It could be a singular reading. It could be a series of performances if you'd like. There has to be some sort of public component to the work so that you're sharing it with community. So just think about who think about who you want to share it with, and then maybe work back from there. That can be an easy way to think about it. And then the final question is, what would make this residency a success for you personally? What do you hope to get out of it? Is it making new work that you can build on for the future? Are you somebody who's like, I'm trying to make it as an artist. I hope that this is a step towards that process. Um, living solely off making my art. It could be something as lofty as that, could be as simple as I want my kid to see it, and I want them to better understand me because they saw it. Whatever your marker for success, that's how we'll measure it, right? Um for us as DJC, the big goal is that the work gets made and that it gets presented, but everything else beyond that is really rooted in what you're hoping to get out of the residency. Okay. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. I'll go over the attachment sections. I know a couple people have talked about getting caught up with this, just making sure folks understand you can submit a formatted like formal proposal. So it's we said 3 pages max, but this could look like if you've got like a template that you use for something that you just want to envision it and lay it out that way so it's not just you answering questions, that's fine. It doesn't have to be super formalized. Again, like it does not have to be it doesn't have to look like a resume or whatever. It can just be like, here are my thoughts in an outline in 3 pages. This is kind of what I'm thinking. So that's optional. You don't have to submit that, but it can help give us a better picture of how you've organized the project. And then text-based work samples up to 15 pages. Um well, it's okay. And then any media. So you can upload images, video, audio, PDFs, 3D models, or external media from YouTube and Vimeo and SoundCloud. So that's the other thing. If you are somebody who doesn't like writing, there is the option to say, make a video of you responding to the question and link that in the application, and we'll be able to watch it. I think those are the only YouTube, Vimeo, and SoundCloud are the only three external forms of like video media that you can link to. It's unfortunate you can't use like social media videos, so you couldn't do Instagram, unfortunately. But if you need help with linking to videos, let us know. Because I know you can get caught up in technical difficulties for sure. I think that's everything. So with the work sample, choose the work that you like the best and that you think showcases your current like talent. I, I I'm trying to think of how to put that more clearly. The We'd like to see your growth as an artist. But I think it's important to understand, like, what are you working on now? What is the sort of quality of the work that you've made recently? And we just want to get a sense of like what it is you make. Um, and I think a good way to think about that is if you're having a hard time selecting out what pieces might be best for the application, ask a friend. There's always a use in asking somebody external from yourself what like what they think. Um yeah, that is everything. Those are all the questions that are in the application. Uh and I will now at the 25-minute mark of me going through this application let you in on a secret, which is you got a grace period. If you apply for this residency, if you start your application before the deadline on February 15th, which is this Sunday, if you start the application before then, you get a 2-day grace period. So you technically have until the 17th if you start it before the 15th. And I will also send out an email reminder to folks who have started applying to please finish their applications if possible. All right. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and check and see if we've got questions. Okay. You know, I'm gonna call for questions one more time, but we're not seeing any. And I will just say one more time, folks, we are recording this. So if you came in late and you want questions answered, we will be posting this to our YouTube and Facebook. So you will be able to access it afterwards. And if you've been on the IG, you haven't seen the screen share, but you'll be able to follow along on the video on YouTube. Okay. Well, given that we don't have any questions coming up, I'm going to close out the live and say thank you to everybody who joined us. Thanks to anybody who's watching after the fact. And please do not hesitate to contact us between now and Sunday if you've got questions about your application. At media@detroitjustice.com. Again, media, MEDIA, at detroitjustice.com. Nope, take it back. DetroitJustice.org. I should absolutely not have said that. DetroitJustice.org. Um, okay. Thank you again for your time. And yes, we will look forward to seeing your applications this weekend. And stay safe out there. Keep warm. Fight the power.